Hey y'all, welcome to the Moving with Millennials podcast with your favorite millennial realtors.
We are 4 top producing agents in the DFW area, and we are ready to share the good, bad, and the real life of real estate.
Whether you're thinking about getting into real estate, already an agent, or just curious about what your agent really does, join us.
Tune in every Wednesday to see what it's really like to be on this side of the transaction.
Hey y'all, guess who?
I'm back.
I'm back just today for this one or a couple podcasts that we're going to be recording today, but I am back. We're going to be talking a little bit about what I've been up to with baby Chandler and all the things.
We're so excited.
Oh.
It feels so good to have you back. We've missed you.
Oh my gosh, it is so weird. Like I literally was like, okay, I shave my legs. Because I'm in a dress, and I was like, but it just felt so nice to like clean all the spit up out of my hair and put my makeup on. I was putting my makeup on, and I'm like, I kind of forgot like what this is like.
It's so nice just to get out without
Yes.
But you've had lashes on the entire time.
Oh, I had lashes on the entire time.
Tell the story about like, you put them on like right before.
Before I went into labor. Oh yeah, we haven't even like talked about any of this. Okay, yeah.
Well,
we have,
Brian,
but not on the podcast.
Brian to do it. If
yes,
you had to.
literally, yes. Literally, as soon as my water broke, which was like at 1 a.m. in the morning, the very first thing, of course, my water breaks when the one time I hike. Don't have my lashes on,
which is like never.
Yes, because sometimes I take a little break overnight, but overnight just to give a breather.
The day.
So the very first thing I do is I'm like, oh, water broke. Okay, before I even called to go into the hospital, I'm starting to put my eyelashes on because I was like, I'm not even gonna call them and then be like, y'all better come in right now. Because I'm like, no, these lashes are going on. So that was the very first thing.
That's hilarious.
Honestly, I wouldn't have done it any differently because they lasted through the whole labor and everything else. So my pictures look better.
So
exactly.
Good.
Yeah, 36 hours of labor.
Gosh.
Oh my gosh. I'm still like, it's just crazy. But I also, so it's been 6 weeks, right? She's 6 weeks old, a little over 6 weeks.
She's 6 weeks old.
Well, for me, it like went so fast. But then I think back to like when I was in the hospital and those first 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, you guys were right. Those first 2 weeks are crazy. I don't even really remember half of it, but
Mariana,
like it feels like
out of 12 weeks. As soon as you as soon as you turn that corner at 12 weeks, you're like, hallelujah.
Yeah.
But the first 2 weeks you're running on like autopilot. Your brain just goes into like survival mode and you don't even realize that you're functioning.
Autopilot, like you have no idea what you're doing either. Right. So you're like autopilot, but I hope we're doing it right.
Yes. It was just so crazy. But I feel like because so much happened in this last 6 weeks, so much has changed, so much has been different, especially in those first 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. I feel like those first 2 weeks and when I was in the hospital is so long ago. Like it just literally, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's only been a little over a month. Like that's weird to me because it just feels like so much has happened and changed.
I do agree that time does not start until you have kids, and then the time you realize like how fast it flies. Like you don't realize how fast it goes until you have kids, and then in the blink of an eye, you're like, it's been 6 weeks.
I don't know that I would say like time doesn't start until you have kids, but I would say like your perception of time is totally different after kids. So like for me, it's that like I, in a way, feel like that we were in the hospital with JC, like, yesterday. Like, I mean, it literally feels like, it was just, like, it doesn't feel that long ago. Mm-hmm. But then when I think about it, I'm like, that was a lifetime ago. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, that feels like a million years ago. But in some ways...
so much has happened.
But in some ways, I feel like I can literally, like, still feel physically like what she felt like in my 2 hands. Like, I'll never forget that feeling. So it's like, because I can still feel that, it feels like it was just yesterday. Mm. But then I'm like, oh, God, life has changed... in so much. So you'll have a different perception of time.
Yeah. No, I definitely do. I definitely think like I've learned how to like prioritize my time a little bit more, even though like I feel like the first 6 weeks, you said the first 2 weeks were survival mode. I feel like I'm just now getting out of survival mode in a sense where we're still trying to figure it out. Even those first 2 weeks, and then she changed her sleeping pattern, and we're like, oh gosh, so then we change everything up again. Everything's still 100% revolving around her and her schedule right now. That's why I feel like I'm just out of the survival mode. Where I'm like, okay, girlfriend, like, now you're going to get into my schedule, you know? And now I'm like, okay, we kept you alive this long. We know how to change you. We know how to feed you. We know what, you know, your cries are, that kind of stuff. So now I'm like, okay, let's get a routine down. We can't, the lifestyle we lived these last 6 weeks just didn't seem sustainable, right? So I'm realizing we got to have that.
And getting those cries down is so important too. So kudos to you guys for already knowing how to tell her cries apart.
It's their language.
Important. It's so important to be able to read and see, like, okay, well, she's crying. Maybe she can sit there for a second, or oh my gosh, she needs us. Let's
crazy.
Yeah.
We would even like imitate it. We'd be like, oh, that's you know,
that's
like,
so
it's
funny.
That one, and so
it's like how
and
they
we would know,
communicate.
like, okay, well, she needs this. You know?
Well, we literally, I don't know if she thinks we're mocking her, but sometimes she cries, which we think is so cute. Sometimes I know we'll not probably think it's cute for very long, but she'll be like, wah, wah, and then me and her will go. I'll go right back in her face, and I'll be like, wah, wah, and she'll kind of look at me, and I'm like,
no, there are certain
funny.
cries that you will think are cute.
Yes,
I promise.
Okay,
there
good.
are certain ones. There's certain ones that you're like,
blow your
I
mind
want
off.
to never hear this ever
Yeah.
again.
I bet.
Screeching, we definitely have had some screeching cries. She doesn't love when we're in the car seat so far if we're not moving. Like if we stop at a stoplight and we're there for too long, I mean, it's just like she's a bomb goes off and she's screech crying.
I would
but
start
as soon as we
taking
start
her on more
moving,
car rides.
well, yeah, we and I feel like we've done pretty good. She was in a car. Yeah, she's been in. I mean, she was in a car. I mean, week 2, we went to Target a couple times. Like I was like to the point where I'm like, we got to get out. We got to do something. So I feel like she's been in the car a good amount, but not for very long.
Yeah.
Like not long trips.
Y'all will not be surprised because you still see my Instagram stories, but JC has always been a baby that sleeps in the car. Even now,
she's so cute.
I still post the stories of her like,
I know,
like,
it's so funny.
after school, and I'm like, thanks, Uber. You know, it's like she has just always been the baby that will sleep in the car.
I don't know if
I love
we
that,
just
though.
like we're always going, and so I've never had that issue either. But I have friends who are like, we cannot keep her in the car for more than 20 minutes. And I'm like, my life, we would lose our minds.
Yeah.
If that's how we was. My poor kids go on 11-hour car.
Yeah.
So
Ugh,
no,
that
she's
sounds
getting
miserable.
better. I think she just doesn't love the being like trapped down part.
I think
because if you're moving, then it kind of loosens her
and
up.
she can't see you guys, and it's different scenery, so it's just weird.
Well, and she is starting to get to the point where she, I guess, can see further away. So we look back there, and she's actually like kind of looking out the window now, just sitting back there sometimes looking, and we're like, oh my gosh, she's looking out the window.
She's so cute.
It's so funny.
I love her.
We would always have like the little thing up, and so like with the little things that hang down that she could like pull on or whatever. And so it was fun, and like we always just had them on naturally because we just assumed from the very beginning, and then you realize like they can't even see like a foot away from their face in the beginning, you know. And so then it was like the first time we were driving in the car and we heard the one little hit, and then a little kind of like not a giggle, but like, kind of like a coo, and then it like would not stop. And you're like, oh, she found it. She can finally see it, you know.
And then like a week later, you're like, oh great, it's still
I'm
happening.
like, why does it have a bell on it?
So funny.
That's funny.
I love it. She
Yeah.
is adorable though. Like at first she was like all you. I would see,
she
like,
was.
But now I'm like seeing Brian more.
Yes.
And her,
I sent y'all that picture when I was a baby, right? With the chubby cheeks. 100%.
Identical.
Like, so when she first came out, like, and I saw her, of course, she looked, you know, like they look when they come out. But even her features, I was like, oh no, she doesn't look like either one of us. What's
you
know?
So
and
and
so swollen.
Right,
It's traumatizing.
Right. But then in an hour in, when she started to kind of like clean, you know, like bring in some of her features, I was like, okay, I see me with the chubby cheeks. I see no Brian.
Yeah, it's crazy how it changes. Like,
and now she's definitely
like chameleons.
It is weird.
Like, you'll see them like shift in and out of like.
Well, and every day, I feel like she slightly looks a little bit different. But even like throughout the day or different times of the day, like depending on what she's doing, I feel like she has like, I keep telling people, I'm like, she has like 3 looks to her, which is really weird. Like sometimes I see maybe more of me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see a little more of Brian, and then sometimes I see this baby that's like maybe a mix of us, but not really. Like it still doesn't, like it's so weird. She almost like looks like 3 different babies sometimes. It's really weird.
It's cool too because like as she will grow up, you kind of see her morphing into other family members too. Like Tootie is a spitting image of my dad. Like I look at him sometimes and I see my grandpa, or I'll see my dad. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
So
we have a feeling.
Cool, like, have that.
Yeah, we have a feeling she's gonna get. Brian's sister has like blue-green eyes, and so her eyes are that blue-gray right now, but they're staying really blue, and so we kind of feel like she's the only one that really has kind of a blue in her color eyes. So I think she might have her eyes.
Yeah, it's so funny. Even with adoption, people would tell us like it's still so often we get like JC must be yours. Like everyone thinks that she finally.
She just said that to you again, like a couple weeks ago.
She looks
really
like your
weird.
mom at the beach. Like your mom and her look so much alike.
It's the eyes.
Like my whole family kind of had like growing up. Now body type changes as you get older, but like growing up, we all kind of were built like me, like kind of like thicker, really strong, like muscular legs, kind of bigger butts. Like I had like that gymnast build, but it's partially like genetic. She has like literally like my family's
I can
body.
see
It's
that.
like a little build.
So crazy.
She's got her like thick thighs, like big strong legs. She's super strong, and so like she's built like us. But it's just so funny that like people, you'll also just like learn that people like want to see your features in them in a way. So it's like then they like start identifying it in a way. So it's like I think that's part of it with adoption is like people like see me with her, so like they want to see. But we do have some similarities. It's like eyes mostly, I think. But yeah, so it's fun.
Family's been great. Like my in-laws are great. You know, cousin or uncle or uncles and aunts are great. All that kind of stuff. But what you're saying, like I know what you're talking about, and it's not that it annoys me, but you're just like, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
Like, or they'll be like, oh, she's hungry.
Right?
It's like, no, let me, Mom.
Like they're like, oh, she's hungry, and in my head, I'm like, she just ate like 10 minutes ago. No, she's not. Like, that's not.
That would drive me crazy.
It's so hard to like come from this perspective of like they're trying to help, but you have so many hormones going on still, and like you do know best, but like you don't want to be rude, so you're like.
I try not to say things.
I don't think I could.
Even to family that I'm like, no, she just ate. Like, oh gosh, like especially my in-laws. Like, I would be like, no, that's not it. Like, just
you get very. You definitely do get mama berry or papa berry, where you're just like, like the only thing that's really bothered me, like actually made me like whatever is. I'm not gonna say who, but someone we let hold her and stuff was like kissing on her face.
No.
Yeah, and I kept trying to take her away. Like I didn't say anything, and I'm sick to my stomach. Even afterwards that I didn't. But like I kept trying to take her away, and she's like, "No, she's fine." And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna take her in to go feed her.
You're
like,
not
give her
even
back."
supposed to kiss babies
at all, anywhere, right?
Right.
And I'm like,
some people like will do like an arm or something like that, but like
sometimes
never
they do, like,
their
back
hands,
of their head, the
like,
back of their
they could put in their mouth.
Yeah,
because they can't touch. Like normally they won't touch the back of their head
because they can't reach on
top or back. But like that's the only place that like anyway is safe to like kiss them, but also like. It's not your baby.
Yeah. And like my mom kind of like kissed her arm, and then his mom kind of did too, and that's not what I'm talking about. Like that was totally fine. Like I didn't like I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But no, this was like she was all over, and this was someone I'm not that close with that definitely wouldn't be listening to this. So if you are listening, it's not you. Promise. So yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like, people that like want to like kiss like their feet because people are like, that's like that weird thing where like I don't know, like people are like
she sticks her feet in her diaper sometimes when we're changing. So don't do that.
I'm like, because her feet when that sock is on, then I know I'm about to like change. But like other than that, like yes, do not put your mouth on.
Just not
babies.
yet. Like 6 weeks. I mean, Brian and I don't fully.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah.
That's like one of the things I told JC as she was like a little bit older. Because some people would be like, especially when you go to family events, you're like, some parents tell their kids like that like. Nana wants to like hug Nana. Force. I taught JC consent from like the moment that I possibly could teach. Like I'm like, no, if you don't want to hug them, don't hug them.
But that's a very strong rule in our family too. Even now, even with my parents, sometimes like Joe will be upset that my parents are leaving. She doesn't want to hug them, so we say, okay, just blow a kiss and do whatever. Like whatever makes you feel comfortable. That's what you do. You don't have to.
Don't force it.
You do not have to. I'm never gonna force you, even to hug me. If you don't want to hug me.
Oh, that's I will force her to kiss. She kiss anytime you ask JC for a kiss. She turns to her cheek. I'm like, no cheek, sister. Like real kiss.
Me
for
kiss
me. Yeah, me.
Daddy doesn't.
Daddy and Dada both get real kisses. But yeah, I will tell JC like you must speak when spoken to because that's like one of the things that drives me crazy. There are times when someone will speak to her and she's so shy and kind of shies away, and I'm like, that is one thing I do get onto her. I'm like, you don't have to hug someone. You don't have to shake their hand if they reach out and they want to shake your hand. Like you do not have to do any of that. But if someone speaks to you, you will speak back.
That's a respect thing.
Yes, absolutely. Like, that's just,
Respect your elders.
Anyways.
Yes, back to baby Chandler.
No, well, y'all talking about all that. Like, it's funny how, like, I know she's only 6 weeks old, but I already think about those things. Like, I already am like, okay, like, if she doesn't want to be held with someone, like, I'm going to take her back. Like, it's fine. Absolutely. Like, I'm going to respect what she's already wanting. Yeah. So it's just kind of crazy. But overall, she's a good baby. So
she's so sweet.
Okay, sleep schedule are we on right now?
Okay, so
it just changed.
No, she's doing. So
like she only wants to be held
during naps. So naps have been a little hard. I'm like, I left with her in a nap and she was kind of getting wiggly, so I was like, good luck, Brian, you got this.
Do you guys ergo or like wrap her?
I do have. I have like not the Mombi, but one of the other ones. It's like the Boomba or Bomba. I don't know, but one of them. Yes, I have a wrap, so she loves that. I've probably only wrapped her maybe a handful of times, so I don't do it all the time or wear her around the house. Not that I don't want her to get used to it, but I'm like, I want her to be able to like independently sleep a little bit too.
Trust me,
But you know what's funny?
You will love
and I'll tell Maggie this too, and because I don't know how you guys were, but like I had, I don't remember if we talked about in the maternity leave podcast that we were talking about, but I had this whole like sleep schedule that I was going to follow. The mom's on call, right?
Yeah.
And by week 2, she's supposed to be in her crib. No, it's week 6, and I'm like, she's not ready. Nope. And everybody's different, I know, but I'm literally and I could say like, I'm gonna let her.
I'm like super gluing my mouth shut right now.
I know. I'm like, I'm gonna let her cry it out. No, like that's not in our house. Like we let her fuss a little bit at this point, and now that she's about 6 weeks, we're like, okay, like it was really cute to like pick you up immediately when you cry, but now maybe we can let you fuss a little bit longer. So we are starting to learn that. No, I want to know what you guys are thinking.
No comments.
After this, I'm gonna group chat you with my friend that still has a 4-year-old sleeping in her bed.
No,
Jake.
Well, no, she doesn't sleep with me.
No, I will just tell you right now, I have 2 kids. I have one that was sleep trained and sleeps 10 hours by herself and puts herself back to sleep, never bothers us.
Yeah.
And I have one kid who my postpartum was so bad that I couldn't stand his cries, so we always ran to him. We always picked him up. The kid is 3.5 and does not sleep through the night still.
Okay.
He will come find us. If his blanket falls off, he'll come find us. If he is hear something, he'll come find us. Joe will stay in her bed until we open that door in the morning. She'll sit in her bed. Mom, I'm up. And then she knows that like if it's X time you're not getting out of your bed, I'll bring you a book, do whatever. Tootie doesn't give a flying squirrel. He's like, there's no rules, but there's a difference. The difference is that Joe was strictly sleep trained and he was not. And
does Joe like say like, well, how come Tootie gets to like go out of his room?
Yeah,
like,
she has no idea.
Doesn't know.
Oh, okay, because she's in. Okay, I didn't know if she like heard him.
She slept for the night 12 hours a night since she was 8 weeks old because we slept trained the crap out of her.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I told you from like.
Were you like strictly hard with it?
Yeah.
So she was in our room downstairs and she was on 3-hour feedings for the first few weeks. So then it was like getting those to lengthen, but by 5 weeks. She was upstairs in her crib through the night usually between 11:30 to 6 a.m.
Yeah. So the reason we haven't moved her into her crib, because we do have her still on the mom's on call schedule. She's still feeding every 3 hours, which sometimes.
Is her room upstairs though?
We have one story. Yeah. But her room is like up towards the front of the house and ours is towards the back. So there isn't like a huge walk or anything like that. But she is already sleeping through the night. She has actually been sleeping through the night for a little while. So because she has, like we get now, she slept 8 hours last night. So we get anywhere from 5 on a bad night to 8 in the last probably 2 weeks.
Which is awesome.
So I know it could change for sure, but she's in her bassinet next to me. She's not like in the bed with us. Like co-sleeping, but she, because of that's why I'm like, okay, she's fine to stay there. I'm able to sleep. She's able to sleep. So we're good. Well, but eventually I know we'll move her into the crib.
Like, this is your comfort and makes you happy. So that's what you do.
And she is napping in her crib.
That transition.
So we're trying to move her.
Nap in cribs. And then also when you move her to her room, you move her in the bassinet first. So she's still sleeping in the same thing.
That makes sense.
But a new atmosphere. So she's only adjusting to one thing at a time. And then once she gets used to adjusting to the room, but still in the bassinet, then you switch to full crib.
That's so smart.
It's like small transition.
Yeah.
Literally baby steps.
The coolest thing someone told me also too was to put the baby in his or her room by themselves. So like what we did in that, like to just get them comfortable in their space. And so we would put Joe in the room she was sleeping in, and I would go like switch laundry, or I would go make lunch, then come back to her. And that she was awake and she was alert. Obviously, they can't go anywhere, but like that keeps her comfortable in her room because she trusts her space. And it also shows her like, mommy leaves, but then I come back. Like I leave and I come back, and so that's been so
We've
important
done naps in her crib since like week 2, so like she does go now, and like all of her naps are in there unless she starts to cry, or we need her to get a good nap, and we end up holding her basically.
That's one of the Wonder Weeks leaps is learning that the parent's coming back.
Love Wonder Weeks.
I am following that.
You'll notice that it's like learning attachment or something like that, and you're like, all of a sudden, like they flip out if they cannot see you, and you're like, oh my god, can I just like, I remember like having to like hold JC because like Jason was gone. I'm like having to hold her while I'm like peeing or something, and I'm like, this is not okay with me.
And doesn't it like tell you like why they're doing that?
And it shows like the leaps and how long they should take, and what their XYZ.
And it tells you how to assist them through the leap. So like they're learning attachments. Like you do need to be there, but then this is also how you can help strengthen or quicken that learning process,
so
basically.
I think the first sleep was Sensations. I love the app because I'm like, I watched it, the first one, or read into it, but the first one was Sensations. I was around month 1, and the way I understood the sensations was like she's finally starting to realize like she's got a wet diaper because her senses are starting to like kick in. So I'm like, okay, now I'm understanding like she's not going to just sleep through a wet diaper, because at first she kind of a wet diaper and she'd be like sleeping, and I'm like, well, I don't want to wake her and to change her, we'll just let her sleep for a minute. Well, now it's like she gets wet and she's sleeping. She wakes up and she's like, and I'm like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh yeah, the diaper needs to be changed. So that's new, and so it's just
that
really
app,
cool to see that.
To that app, I could hug them.
I know.
All day.
Yeah, I wonder how long it took them to like
realize that. Especially,
or like all the research behind
and
she was born early too, so like you do like their due date versus their date they're born, because Joe was 2 weeks early too. So then like that helps you.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I love that it's still such a big thing. Like it was like, I feel like it was kind of newish when we had JC, because that was 7 years ago. And our pediatrician like recommended it, and then but it's still like, I know, like
relevant.
Still
that's really neat.
Yeah.
Wow. So cool.
Yeah, but sleeping overall, like I would take the no naps kind of thing. She is napping, but it's just like, again, she either wants to be held, or if she gets in her crib, she's in there for maybe 30 minutes, 45 if it's like a good. And that's actually been in the last like week and a half. And I have a feeling, because I told you guys we had our first ER visit. So yeah, we had that. And so I have a feeling like that was maybe part of it. Like it has to do with like the gassiness and stuff. So because of that, that's why we were like, okay, let's just hold on to her, because she was like throwing up and stuff like that. So I was a little more like, okay, let's just keep her with us.
Always
for a
trust
little
your
bit.
mom instincts.
Yeah. So
I love it.
But now, hopefully, like I said, it's been 6 weeks, and now I'm like, now you're getting into my schedule, so I'm going to be more like, when you put her down for a nap, like let's let her fuss it out for a little bit, see if she'll sleep a little bit longer. But as long as she's sleeping through the night right now, like I'm like, okay, I would take that over anything else. Yeah. So sleep's been okay.
Yeah.
How's Brian doing? How's his adjusting?
He's good. Yeah. So like, cause he's still working from home, which, oh my gosh, has been probably the biggest blessing. Like, he is not in love with his job at the moment, but at the same time, like it's been so great, because like for me, like I personally don't think I've like suffered through like postpartum depression or anything like that, but it's because he's like been there the whole time. And even though like I may have her most of the day, or like, have to be the one that's mainly there for her, it's like at least I have another human or adult in the house.
It's another adult that helps.
Right. And there have been moments where I'm like, I'm touched out, or I'm just like, she's, I can't figure out what she wants, or maybe she does, all she wants is to eat, and I'm just kind of like, I'm touched out. I'm like, here you go, I'm done feeding her, you can burp and change her, because I need someone to just like take her.
Just even to have that person to where, you get to where you just can't. Right? Like you get to where, I'm sure like you got to this point where like, I can't do it anymore. And so having that person just to walk outside, right? And just to be able to like put them, and my mom always said, if you're at that point, even if no one else is home, put them in the crib, put them in the crib. Yeah. You can bring the monitor, or you can leave the monitor. She's like, go sit outside for 5 minutes. Yeah. Even if they scream for 5 minutes, they're in a safe place, and your mental health is more important than anything else.
I said that like probably about 3 weeks in. I said, I understand how someone who is not in a mentally healthy state,
oh my gosh,
could have those reactions.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But it was like one of those things where it's like you suddenly like you hear those stories and you're like who could do that? But it's like, well, someone that's like not healthy could, because it does push you to the very ends of like your physical and mental and emotional stamina. Like it pushes you to
like
the full depth of that. Where you can just be like, I need you to hold Chandler. I have to take 2 seconds just to breathe. Yeah. It's so important.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, for someone who hasn't felt like they've gone through the postpartum depression part of it, like I've literally had those moments where I'm like, I see now why possibly a mom like walks out the door and doesn't come back. And I know that sounds bad.
It does. It sounds bad.
It sounds really bad.
You get it, Maggie.
It's not like I would. Yeah. So have kids. It's great.
But like no, you do.
You do. That's what
I
was trying to say.
You're literally
that's
like,
good to know that that's okay to have those thoughts.
Oh my gosh.
It's very normal.
I've talked to a lot of my moms about that. So like I don't even feel guilty saying that anymore, because like every mom I've talked to, everybody I've talked to, every parent is literally like, it's just
I remember like one day specifically, like Jason, it just was a really bad day. It was like within the first 5 weeks. So Jason was back at work. I was the one staying home. And it just was, I think it was like during the leap or whatever. I just couldn't figure it out. And I just was like, I I cannot. Just like, so I put her down in the crib. I shut her bedroom door, and I was on the other side of it. She was screaming, crying, and I was sobbing.
Oh my God.
Like, sobbing, like, what did I do to my life?
Yeah,
like, you know, and she was a really good baby, but there just are still occasionally those bad moments.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I remember I, like, speakerphone called my mom, and I was like, I just can't. My mom was like, just breathe, like, talk me through it for, like, 5 minutes. And by the time I settled down and opened the door, JC had settled back down.
And they like can like read your like it's crazy how they
you both work each other out in those times. So it's like it is usually.
Do you feel like you guys still do that to each other?
Oh, yeah, she and I totally do because we're so much alike.
Yeah,
oh my God,
I can.
That is me and Joe. We can get each other so upset, and then we just both can't do it. But our turning point, I had a story like Jake's where I had reached it. I was like, this is I just messed up. I need to go back, and I could not get her to calm down. So I put her in the crib, like my mom had told me, and I'm like sitting in the chair. She's hysterically crying. I'm hysterically crying, and it's like 2 a.m. and my parents are sleeping, and Pat's sleeping, and I was just so frustrated. Pat like opens the door. He was like, I think you should go. Yeah, bye. And as soon as I left the room, she stopped crying. And like I went back in like 2 minutes later, and her and Pat are just like snuggled sleeping on the chair. And I was like, what? And so I just like went to the room, and I was like, but that's like, you just need that. Like you just need that person or that help. And it's just so you're tired, and you're just it's going through a lot. So it's so much.
Meanwhile, I would get home. So my dad was our manny from like after 5 weeks, and I went back to her 6 weeks. When I went back to work until she was a year old. We didn't want to put her. We just didn't do daycare. So he was retired basically. So at that point, he was our manny. So I would stay home from work on Mondays and like work from home, and I was with her, and he would keep her Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at our house. He would come over in the morning, bring his little sack lunch and whatever.
So cute.
And on Fridays, Jason would work from home. So he was like with her for 3 days of the week. And there would be days like I would like get home from like work at like 5 p.m. and my dad and Jason are just like, she's like sleeping on his chest. They're like in the game room because it was super dark. It was like navy blue. Upstairs in the game room with like the fan on and the TV's going. My dad's snoring. Jason's like looks like the happiest little sleeper ever. And I'm like, put her in her crib, and he's like, nope, not on my watch. So it's like they have such a special little bond from that year. But I'm like, Dad, you're breaking our good habits. And he's like, nope. Like, and she would like learn the difference, kind of like our habits versus his.
When Grandpa's there,
So, that was Tootie. My postpartum with Tootie was so bad that I could not do much. And so my dad would show up at 8 a.m. and you'd be there till 3.
That's
and
my
mom would show up at 3:30 and then put him to bed. Like, we could not function. And so, but my dad is Tootie's best friend now. And Tootie's not sleep trained. It's my dad's fault because he would go pick him up, hug him. But we couldn't do it. And so we were just so grateful that someone was there. But now, even now, Tootie will like fall. Like, Poppy! And I'm like, your mom's here? No. But like, it's so important for them to have those bonds and stuff. Because now JC and my dad are probably still best friends.
They're super close. What's funny is you're kind of like asking if Jason and I work each other up. JC and my dad will like work each other up too because I'm so much like my dad that they'll like pester and pick at each other, and they'll both get so worked up and so frustrated with each other, but then they'll laugh it off. But Jason, when we get each other worked up, Jason used to joke, he's like, you guys are like American Russia with like the nuclear buttons. Like, both of you like have your button on like, and you're ready to hit it at any moment just to
like,
drive the
like
other one crazy.
Like putting it in front of each other's faces.
Yes, there were times I would literally would like get down on like JC's level and so very calmly tell her, I am the adult and you will not win. We are done here. And she's like, would just totally ignore me and do whatever she wanted. I'm like, no, like look at Jason. You know, like, why is not listening?
I am the adult.
Yes. But it's so
funny.
And then you realize, like, that's my child.
Yes, and now, like, as she's gotten older, I'm like, I'm so thankful she's strong-willed. I'm so thankful she has a mind of her own. I'm so thankful she makes her own decisions. Like, those things, like, some of those things that, like, drive you crazy are also some of the things that, like, in reality, like, I need to nurture those in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and just think about it in 20 years.
Yeah.
How good that's going to
I'm like, always joke,
benefit
like,
her.
I want to raise, like, a boss, so.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
By the way, you mentioned it, like you returned to work within 6 weeks. I was thinking about that this week.
Yeah,
of like how.
What do you want to do?
Well, we don't know. I cannot imagine. Like I am like now I realize like when they're like 6 weeks is not long enough. Like it really isn't. Like I don't think she's ready for me to leave. Like clearly like she's still like with sleeping is a little off and on. And while like you leaving with a family, I would totally do that. But all of our parents work, all the things, so that's not an option.
Right.
I can't imagine putting her into a daycare. I know people do it all the time and have, you got to do it. You got to do what you got to do. But now I understand. I'm like, oh my goodness, like 6 weeks just is not enough time.
Yeah.
Like she's so young still.
It was always so hard for like my teacher friends to do that. Like they
the
disability.
They extended through the 12 weeks. Yeah.
They'd like apply for the disability thing to get more than 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like they were.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Something needs to change there.
Our transition helps. It's like, because I knew I was with her one day, Jason was with her one day, my dad had her the others. And for me, like 2015, were you a realtor at that point? 2015?
Yeah, I was in 2013.
Okay, so 2015, I was a designer for home builders. And back then, it's like, I would sometimes do like, I did like 60 houses in 2 months. It was like insane building back then. So it's like literally I had to get back to work. I was a lead designer on multiple accounts, and it's like my poor designers that were still like on the accounts that I was on, I like knew that they were like moments from like a nervous breakdown. I'm like, I've got to get back. Also, like I just missed it. So I need to get back to a real human.
Or go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and I've definitely had moments like I've even like right now we're checking in with clients and I'm checking emails. I've certainly have had people. I actually wrote a contract the other day for a client that wants to buy like land that there is like next to their parents' house. So like as I was doing like the contract and stuff, I'm like, oh man, like I do kind of miss this. And like coming up here, I'm like, okay, like I could maybe see me doing this. But I don't think I could fully get back into it for at least another few more weeks. Again, I don't think we're ready with our schedules and things like that to make it work 100%.
Well, I think luckily you can decide when you're ready, right? Like you have that luxury to do that.
Yeah.
And don't rush it.
Yeah.
She'll never be this small again.
Yeah. And I will say, I've been fortunate with being able to have like help and all that kind of stuff and like things still kind of moving. While it's not like probably at the same volume that I'm used to or want it to be, it's still like there.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. When do you think you're planning on going like back fully?
Well, 12 weeks is still like my goal. So like, what is that? August, September, like starting back up in September fully. But then even then, like to know what that looks like, what like fully even looks like, I don't know because like I said, I don't know. It's weird. We're in a profession where, she could stay home and I could work from home but and Brian grabs her when I have to go show her an appointment,
Or sometimes you can take her showings.
Or take her, if it's like, acceptable.
It's
that
baby on you and
it's hard to say like it's going to ever go back to the way it was. Because if it goes back to the way it was, then I'm not going to have a life with her. You know what I mean? Like I was working evenings, weekends, all that. So I know I have to change something. So that I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So I think like realizing like family does come before business and all that. And, really just making sure business is still good, but family comes first.
Definitely.
So I don't want you to stress either on like finding that perfect plan now. Cause I think you need to fall into it. Yeah. Like I think once you arrive,
I think up to this point, I haven't stressed about it. I had a little moment of like anxiety, like where it was like kind of working up where I'm like, what is this going to look like? Like daycare? No, I don't know. Like I had this like moment, like this day where I was like kind of frustrated that I didn't feel like I got anything done that day, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so it was just like overwhelming. But so far I haven't like even let myself like think of like what's legit going to happen yet.
Yeah, that's good.
You really
just
can.
enjoy baby.
Yeah.
And you can like leverage your higher help.
Yeah. The way I have it set up with, having someone helping buyers, like I'm even kind of like, well, do I take on less buyers to where, because that's usually, as we know as realtors, what takes up more time is the showings and things like that. So
we'll talk about that in another episode, but you may want to keep all your buyers.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was like, I feel like it's very unfortunate with the market, what's going on. We'll talk about that next.
Seriously, you're like on maternity leave at the perfect time. Like,
it's crazy.
It's definitely shifting.
Yep.
We'll talk about that next.
Yeah. So excited. Well, thanks for welcoming me back.
Yes, we're so excited. It feels so good. Feels
we
like
enjoyed
home.
all of our guests, for sure, but it's so nice to have you back, at least for a couple of episodes.
It feels so good just to be together.
Yeah.
Well, I think we definitely need the guests. Like, I listened to the episode y'all did with some of the guests, and I'm like, okay, like, that was awesome. Y'all did so
They're
good.
some of my favorite episodes. So we need like once you come back fully, I feel like we should still like
we'll still ditch or
sprinkle some of those in.
Yeah.
Sure.
Perfect.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, we will see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.